I mentioned before we started, we had someone joining us on the show today. She's joining us via Skype, so we'll get to see her. She's in California, a young woman named Corrin Rankin, and she is I have a long bio of her, but I mostly want her to introduce herself. But I will tell you, she is let me start with her. She's on the President Trump's board, Black Voices for Trump. She's on the advisory board of Black Voices for Trump. She's also the founder of the Legacy Republican Alliance in California. And so she's a young black woman who has gotten fired up to talk about the importance and the rightness of the GOP message and bringing that message to the black community in California. So I believe we have Corrin ready, right? There you are. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So glad you could join us. Well, I'd love to have you start by telling our listeners, because I did read a bit of your bio, and you actually voted for President Obama in 2008. And somewhere along the line, and I told you a little email earlier, back in my college and law school days, I voted Democrat also. But so after your 2008, somewhere in there between that and 2012, you changed your mind on your party or your views about the political party. So can you tell us why that happened? What drew you to the Republican Party?
Well, I think what initially I wasn't drawn to the Republican Party. I was more disenfranchised with the Democrat Party. And I thought that Barack Obama, then Senator Obama, who was running for president, I thought that he too felt the disenfranchisement of the Democrat Party, and he ran and said all these great things. There's going to be hope, it's going to be change, it's going to be a new day. And I really believed in that. I thought he was going to sort of bring the party back to where it should be, or the Democrat Party that I was raised to believe I should belong to. And I quickly saw that once he was elected, he just went right into status quo, and there was not going to be any change. I saw in California, I saw our then governor, Jerry Brown, just start to dismantle our criminal justice system, implementing laws that I believed was going to harm my community. And so I started to look over the platforms. I started to actually question, why am I a Democrat? And the things that I saw my then governor doing and President Obama doing just seemed to not align with what I thought was the Democrat Party. So I went and I looked at their platform and I thought, oh, okay. And then I decided to look up the Republican Party and look at their platform. And then I remember reading it and basically agreeing with everything it said. And after that, at that point, I clicked my computer off and I thought, oh my God, am I a Republican?
Okay.
So I was sort of in denial for a while about that. But then I just saw things going around in my local community with, our school boards. And I saw that, I'm steadily, voting yes on measures to spend more money in school to help my children get better education. But then I saw that, the money, the taxes were raised, but the money didn't get to the school. And, I just started to get this feeling that they were not being honest. And so time and time again, they just kept proving themselves as being, basically dishonest. They would say one thing, and then when they get behind closed doors, they vote the exact opposite of what they told you they would do. And so then, I went through this process of being, angry with the Democrat Party. I registered Republican, and I thought, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to do everything I can to, let people know that the Democrat Party is not being honest with us. They are not supporting our communities in general. They're not supporting our school systems. And, once I did that, I found myself pretty much an outcast in my community. But, I knew, back in 2009 that I was on the right side of history. And so I stuck with it.
I love that line. You knew in 2009 the right side of history. So I want to just tell you, first of all, thank you for that summary. And that is just really it's a very hard thing, I'm sure, for people to do. I will say for some women who've kind of their whole lives been known by their friends and their other women, oh yeah, she's a good Democrat. Very hard for women to tell their friends, actually, I'm not with the Democrat Party anymore. And so I know, especially in the black community in America, because the black vote has gone overwhelmingly to the Democrat Party for so long, I'm sure it really was challenging. We've had other guests in the show talking about not really wanting to go home for Thanksgiving dinner and having to face the relatives who don't like the idea of them having moved away from the party. So I want to I noticed one thing in your resume. You talked about, or you formed a group called the Legacy Republican Alliance in California. Tell us about that.
So I got together with my fellow California Republicans, Black Republicans, after our last year's February convention. And we kind of found that our state party didn't have resources to outreach to the Black community. And we were a little disheartened about that, but we decided, let's all get together, let's form an organization, and let's do the outreach ourselves, because it's important. And it was that important to each one of us that we took this task upon ourselves.
So the Legacy Republican Alliance in California was just formed February of 2019. Is that what you're saying?
Actually, it was just formed in about April. February when we got the concept, so it was about April when we first really get our organization moving. But it really evolved very quickly, much faster than I thought. We get emails in every day. I think that our outreach here in California is working. I'm noticing a shift in the Black community to where I wouldn't want to go to Thanksgiving dinners, or would never dare say I'm Republican if I'm not ready, for a heated back and forth argument about it. And what I'm noticing now is that Black people are more open to listen to what I'm saying. And not only that, they come and they ask me, and they say, why should I be a Republican? I'm all open. I'm open. I'm ready to hear what you have to say. Just tell me why. Why do you think that I should be a Republican? And then when we start having that conversation, we find that, I find that they agree with me. And that's, very easy to get them to agree with me. Whereas back in 2015, 2016, and even 2017, it was more of an argument. People were closed and they weren't ready to hear anything I had to say. And it's very different now.
Very different. Since the time, it sounds like you're saying, since President Trump won his election in 2016, it's become easier for you to talk to the Black community in California about opening their hearts to the idea of being Republican. So what is your answer when they say, why should I be Republican? What are the policy points you turn to, or the issues you point out to convince them to consider the Republican Party?
The economy, mostly economy and education. There's a lot of urban, Black minority communities that just would relish in the idea of school of choice. So that's one of President Trump's policies that, immediately resonates. And also the economy. Low taxes. I usually lead with low taxes, and I can hook people right away. Here in California, we taxed just absolutely just so high. Everything is high. Our gas prices have gone almost up to $5 to $6 at some point. So when I utter the words low taxes, they are all in. And also, there's a feeling of safety, and people are starting to recognize that historically they have done better economically when there's been a Republican president. I can't tell you how many people have said, well, George Bush, he was racist, but my money was better when he was in office than when Barack Obama was in office. So now that we have President Trump in office and the economy is just roaring, I mean, people see that. People go from having one job, then they move to another job because the next job's paying more, and it shows. People are noticing it. You can always get people with, do you want to do better financially? To grow your your business, have a better lifestyle for your, and those are the things that resonate with people. people immediately. And it's about safety. It's about feeling, safe and secure in the country and safe and secure in your job and or business.
These are great answers. I so appreciate that. I want to actually turn to on this a quick point on this group that you formed, the Legacy Republican Alliance. You essentially decided because there were not sufficient funds in the California Republican Party that to help do outreach, to bring the message of the GOP to the Black community in California. You formed this, and so you're actually trying to raise money through that organization. Is that right? The Right Republican? It's actually legacyrepublicans.org. You're trying to raise money through that in order to fund spreading this message. Is that right?
Yes. Well, we do have a PAC that's separate. It's affiliated with our organization, but it is separate. It has a separate board, and they do raise money so that they can support candidates. One of our goals is to get more Black people to run for office as Republicans. School boards are big. Hot button for me. I'm really passionate about getting more Black people with Republican values to serve on their school boards and be more involved in the failing school system that we have here in California, the failing public school system.
Yes.
The PAC has, they've endorsed just a slew of candidates that are running for Congress. There's a lot of Black Republicans, ex-military, and just coming from business, the business walk of life, and they've decided to throw their hat in the ring and run as a Republican. And being Black, it's a new phenomenon, and we are just embracing it. I couldn't be more proud of these individuals for stepping up and opting to serve their communities and our country.
I love that. And I was going to commend you also because I think a lot of people go along in life and they may conclude at some point, I don't know why I was voting Democrat. Now that I understand more what they stand for. So all they might do is change their party registration. But you did so much more. You did more than just change your registration, vote differently. You decided this matters so much to me that I'm going to get out there and bring the message of the Republican Party to my community. I just really want to commend you for that. And I love your energy and your passion. But I want to ask you one hard question. So what do you do with the people? Because you mentioned earlier where some people will say, well, George Bush was a racist, which I don't agree with, but they say George Bush was a racist, but I was better off. What is your answer to people in the Black community who say to you, but isn't President Trump a racist? What is your answer to that?
Well, usually we try to stay away from that argument, but when I am approached with that, I ask them, if they think that's a fair assessment? Do they think that it's fair to call someone a Republican? I'm sorry, fair to call someone a racist?
Yeah, yep.
And usually they say no, and then I ask for an example of why they believe he was racist, and then they usually can't come up with one, or they come up with one that I can dismiss immediately. And then I remind them that President George Bush was also called a racist, and I believed it then. I don't believe it anymore. And then I remind them what a polarizing word that is, the word racist, and especially here in America with Black people or minorities in general. When you call someone a racist, it's not fair to that, and it's not fair to the Black community. If you have proof, then the word should not be used, because what Black people tend to do is once we hear, and I'm guilty of this also, once we hear the word racist, we immediately just shut down and we don't want to hear anything else. And that's not fair to do that to us, and it's not fair to do that to another person.
Could not agree more. I want to ask you also about, you have on your I want to mention to our listeners first, your Twitter handle is at Corrin, Corrin, Rankin, Rankin, legacyrepublicans.org is your organization. They have a PAC, you heard her mention. But the other thing was on your resume, which is so interesting, is that you are part of Black Voices for Trump, part of the advisory board. Yes. What is that all about?
So that's a coalition with President Trump's campaign for 2020. which I am just thrilled that this president has, branched off to coalitions to outreach to minorities. There's Latinos for Trump, there's Women for Trump, and there's Black Voices for Trump. So I commend him for doing that. I think that it is something that is historic. The Republican Party does not traditionally do things like this outreach. So it's really important. It's really telling. And I wanted to be involved because I feel like this is a real moment in history where we can bring more Black people, more minorities over to the Republican Party. I think that there's a segment of the Black population that, because they have not seen any outreach, and because there are, no visible Black people on television in their neighborhoods, talking about being Republican, talking about the benefits of being Republican, they have not seen that in the past. So when they hear things like, Republicans are racist, and then they don't see any minorities, it just contributes to this false narrative. So I really commend President Trump for really going out of his way to dispel this negative stereotype and just to put people in the forefront that truly reflect the nature and diversity of our party.
Wow, that is a fabulous answer. And I'm thrilled too about that. I really am. I've often felt it's just so disheartening in America to have one of the two political parties endlessly messaging that the other party's racist, and our party hasn't done a great job defending themselves. Most of the answer on the Republican side is kind of, no, we're not. No, we're not. Don't say that.
Yeah.
instead of saying, look
like,
at the
prove
great...
it. Yeah.
You have to say,
who else do you have? Let's see them.
Yes. I mean, especially as people have begun to talk about more, the Democrat Party is the party of Jim Crow, the party of Southern segregation, the party that formed the Ku Klux Klan, all of the Southern racist elements that were being fought against in the segregation battle and the desegregation battle were created by Democrats, and somehow that whole party history is lost, and it really, in great part, is due to better management of the media by the left than by our side. But we're fighting back. I love that. So, Corrin, if people want to find you, read more about you, would you share with us how people can find you?
So you can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Corrin Rankin. You can go look me up on our website. It's legacyrepublicans.org. There is a contact section that's located in our website, so you can submit a contact form, and we will get your message. We read them. I read them. A couple of other board members, we take turns reading them. So we're very much involved. You contact us, we respond. You can contact me on my Instagram. That's also @Corrin Rankin. Everything, it's very easy to get a hold of me. It's easy to get a hold. We're very accessible. So, please, if you're thinking about it, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
And those of you who'd love to make a donation, you can donate to your PAC. So to find the PAC, can they just go to your Legacy Republicans? Where do they go to find the PAC?
Yes, there is a link on the sidebar of the website, and it will link you to the PAC site.
Okay. Corrin Rankin, it has been so much fun to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll be back in touch. Thank you. Okay, I want to mention, but before we close out this segment, I want to mention a couple other things going on. I really meant in the first 5 of today talking about how there's just a spirit of people speaking up and with a basic message to establishment people, to the leftists in this country who've been trying to dictate for decades to people how you must think based on your skin color, your ethnicity, your national origin, or your sex. And I love the spirit in America. People are saying, no, I want you, Mr. or Ms. candidate, politician, to tell me why what you stand for is correct. I love what brought this woman around, because it was real life, real understanding, reading the platforms and recognizing the Democrat Party doesn't follow through on anything they promise. They just keep promising. I want to mention too, in this very spirited discussion about the Black American community I mentioned before, we brought Corrin Rankin on. We have Candace Owens doing Blexit. We have the movement, the New Journey PAC, created by Bo Snerdley, the Rush Limbaugh, real name James Golden. There's also, I've been meaning to mention this on the show for several days. I keep forgetting. There's a great website, and I've mentioned it a long time ago, but it's really kind of taken off recently. The Walk Away campaign, and especially the Walk Away campaign on Facebook. This walk away from the Democrat Party, hashtag walk away, on Facebook. It's just called hashtag walk away. And if you go to that, you can see individual postings, person after person, telling, honest to goodness, the most heart-wrenching stories, the most they make you teary, they make you proud, they make you inspired. People saying, I grew up in such and such family, and in my family, everyone was a Democrat, and we were told that Republicans were going to do bad things. And that what you hear in every testimony after testimony, is the spirit of people thinking for themselves, not accepting the narrative that the Democrat media mob puts out there for the American people to accept, essentially, that because you are a certain, you came in a certain package when you were born, you must forever vote with them. It's people who are thinking, who are leaving the Democrat Party. In fact, the Democrat, I think of what they inflict on America is way past political correctness. It's tyrannical, it's tyranny. It is tyranny, shutting down political conversation, mocking people who dare disagree with them. And this has this spirit of people just rising up and saying, not listening to you anymore. You have to do a better job selling your arguments. One last point in this segment was there was an article in the New York Times, I think over the weekend, that was basically saying it's kind of doomsday, seriously, kind of saying it was kind of doomsday for conservative women, that conservative women's future is bleak. And it kind of is just arguing that, the way of the future of the world is going to be women have to be Democrat, have to be liberal, have to be big government type people. And the Republican women are kind of nothing burgers. Nothing could be further from the truth. On my website, americacanwetalk.org, in addition to links to finding Corrin Rankin, with whom we just spoke, in addition to finding a reference to the other articles, there is a great piece that appeared at the Texas Public Policy Foundation talking about this very idea. It's absurd to be arguing that conservative women are on the decline or facing a bleak future. It's exactly the opposite. People thinking for themselves is what is on the move, on the rise in America, and that brings people around to conservative values, because conservative GOP is for thinkers. It's for people who actually reason through the policies to figure out what they will do, instead of saluting to the assignment given to them by the left based on their skin color or other characteristics with which they were born they did not choose.